U.S. President Donald Trump says he will speak with Vladimir Putin on Tuesday as the U.S. president pushes to end the war in Ukraine. Speaking on board Air Force One, the U.S. president said talks between U.S. and Russian officials in the Kremlin last week were positive.
We're doing pretty well, I think, with Russia. And don't see if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. A lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Well, I think we'll be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the war, as you know. And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants. That's it's a big question. But I think we have a lot of it already discussed very much by both sides.
You'll ask him.
Ukraine and Russia.
You'll ask him.
We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets.
Ukraine has already accepted a U.S. plan for a 30-day ceasefire in the conflict, but the Russian president has given no clear answer so far on the proposal. Russia's deputy foreign minister says Moscow will seek, quote, ironclad guarantees that exclude Ukraine from joining NATO in any potential peace deal.
The aftermath of another Russian attack. Firefighters in Ukraine's northern Chernihiv region battling a blaze sparked by Russian drones. This is the other side of the border, in the Russian region of Kursk, which is partly under Ukrainian control. The Russian army says it's pushing Ukrainian troops back and evacuating residents of recaptured villages in the region. There is nothing here to suggest that Russia and Ukraine are on the verge of a ceasefire. But U.S. President Donald Trump remains optimistic.
I'm not understating the complexity of all this, but as a candidate, you said you would have this war settled in 24 hours.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that. What I really mean is I'd like to get it settled, and I think I'll be successful.
What's the plan if Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire?
Bad news for this world because so many people are dying. But I think he's going to agree. I really do. I think I know him pretty well, and I think he's going to agree.
European leaders are less optimistic.
I think the chances are abysmal. I don't think Putin wants a ceasefire. Putin doesn't want a peace. His original aim was basically to destroy the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Ukraine, basically to have Ukraine ceasing to exist. He hasn't changed his aim, and this is what all of us around the table have to understand.
Meanwhile, with every passing week, more and more of Ukraine bears the scars of war.
Ukraine, of course, a big topic for EU foreign ministers who are meeting in Brussels today. Our bureau chief, Alexandra from Nahmen, is following the summit for us. Alexandra, what can we expect of today's talks?
The ministers are already sitting together, and of course, as you just said, Ukraine is on the top of their agenda. They are very eager to listen to what their Ukrainian counterpart, the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Sibiho, has to say about the situation on the battlefield, because we know that the Russian forces are trying to make gains in the southern and eastern part of Ukraine, and they are pushing very hard there. They are also trying to take over the control again of Kursk, the region in Russia that is still, at least to some extent, held by Ukrainian forces. So all of that is being discussed here, as well as a proposal put forward by the EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas. She wants to double the military aid that the EU is providing to Kiev from 20 to 40 billion euros this year. However, she indicated here that the support for that proposal is growing. However, there are still many member states who want to have more details on that.
Actually, now that you mentioned Kaja Kallas, she said earlier that Russia's conditions for a ceasefire do show that you know, the Kremlin doesn't really want peace. Let's hear what she said and then get back to you.
Well, those conditions that they have presented, it shows that they don't really want peace, because they are presenting as conditions all their ultimate goals that they want to achieve from the war.
Alexandra, that was Kaja Kallas. We heard the Finnish president in the report say something along those same lines. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that Kaja Kallas expressed what many Europeans, also ministers here, believe, that Putin's true intentions are not to stop the fighting. There is a European proposal for a temporary ceasefire on the table. It would be easy for him to say, okay, I'm agreeing for a temporary ceasefire, pause to the fighting. Instead, he is demanding from the European Union to stop providing Ukraine with military aid. This is, of course, out of the question, and for many here, this is a proof that Russia is not willing to really negotiate. That's why many ministers here, I would assume, are also concerned about the remarks that we heard earlier from President Trump, who is apparently willing to make concessions at the cost of Ukraine when he is talking or expected to talk to Vladimir Putin on a Tuesday. Many here are saying this is premature, and of course almost all of them are saying that nothing can be decided for Ukraine without Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Britain and France have, as of late, been acting as intermediaries between Ukraine and the US. Will they be able to get other European leaders on board?
Well, I think they are making some progress already. We have seen it over the weekend. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer invited 29 leaders from Europe, but also from other countries for a virtual summit to discuss the possibility of putting together an international peace force should there be a ceasefire in Ukraine, and this way to provide Ukraine with security guarantees that would be a coalition of willing, and Starmer is saying that the whole project, the proposal is now entering an operational phase with the military chiefs of those countries willing to participate to meet this week in London. However, we also have to say that there are European nations such as Germany that have said that they are not so willing to put troops on the ground should there be a ceasefire in Ukraine. So in the end, probably, if it's coming about, that will be a coalition of the willing to help Ukraine, to provide Ukraine with some guarantees should there be a stop to the fighting.
Exactly, a coalition of the willing that even some of Ukraine's staunchest allies in the EU are not willing to join. That was DW's Brussels Bureau Chief Alexandra von Nahmen. Thanks so much, Alexandra.
Thank you.